I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for InvestmentPitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Josh Inthecity, the founder of PotCoin. Josh, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into PotCoin, and this is the 420 special, and it's that time of year where people notice, hey, there's a lot of great projects helping the cannabis space out using blockchain, and PotCoin is one of those ones that's been around for a long time that I'm really excited to dive in because I know you have a lot of new updates as well, and the community is continuing to grow. So if you could kick it off by just giving an overview and the focus of PotCoin and some of the problems that your team's solving for.
Yeah, easy enough. Give you a little background as well. Like you said, starting in 2014, we were the first use case for blockchain and cannabis together. We have the first Genesis block. You know, it's on the chain. You can't challenge that. This idea was created by a couple friends of mine, and I was just here to help out as a community member. And I've stuck with the project all the way through. Really, the whole thought behind this is that this was supposed to be an open source tool used by the cannabis industry and whoever needs it. This was something that's supposed to be designed and built for the community, by the community. We've been going on 7 years now. We've never raised funds. You know, started fairly, just like Bitcoin and Litecoin. We're going through a lot of changes now, but what we've realized over the last 7 years is that it's been a real challenge trying to make everything work and come together on a pure voluntary basis. We've decided that it was best not to try to build out everything within our community. It was better to actually become a central hub for innovative tech companies who are building stuff out for the cannabis industry. Our roots are in community. So in doing that, by supporting these new companies, supporting us, and this is exactly how we're kicking things off. We've seen a lot of changes in the cannabis industry, in the blockchain space as well. A lot of adoption taking place with crypto. A lot of people following Dogecoin now, and Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin, all the Digibyte and Redcoin and Nexus. So we're looking forward to solving some issues. Seed to sale, rewards. These are some of the big things for us. Point of sale. It's just all of these tools are necessary. Intellectual property. This is all stuff that is important for us and important for the community. We sat down. We said, what are the basics? What does the cannabis community need to have a full flourishing ecosystem? And that is where we are focusing on those points.
Definitely, Josh, and that's a great intro. And yeah, I can imagine 7 years as a community-led project is tough. I remember back in 2014, there just wasn't a lot of capital and awareness in the cryptocurrency industry at all. And it was just as it still is now, volunteer-led, trying to build up this open source tools to help the cannabis industry. And I can imagine the cannabis industry as well has shifted a lot in the last 7 years with the legalization in many different jurisdictions, and hopefully that's had a positive impact for PotCoin as well, getting into the industry. And I know you guys were first to market and with that Genesis block way back, and there are other cannabis coins that are trying to make a name for themselves as well, which is great. And I know you guys have a couple specific initiatives like the seed to sale that I want to dive into, but I'm curious if there's anything specific that makes PotCoin unique and differentiates it from any other cannabis-based blockchain projects right now.
Well, the first thing I would say is that I can't speak for everybody, but I don't view these other projects as competitors.
Yeah.
We're here as a community initiative. Just because they have different feelings or different motivations doesn't mean that ours are worth any more or less than theirs. So we are happy to work with any of those projects as long as they're here for the right reasons. We all know it's crypto. We all have to be careful in what you're doing, what you're investing in, what you're putting your money in, what you're putting your time in. Investment isn't always just money; it's also time. So for us, it's important that they're here for the right reason. If they're here for the right reasons, we're happy to work. We're happy to help. We're happy to plug into their solutions. For us, the number one thing is the cannabis community, and blockchain is one of those tools. And It may be an extremely strong tool, but it's just one of the tools that we need for the cannabis community to have success.
Mm-hmm.
And so where that tool is necessary, if somebody else builds out something better than us, why not work together? And that's our take on it.
Definitely, and I think it's a great take. And blockchain is so small, and it really just, in terms of actually revolutionizing the cannabis industry, just taking its baby steps still. There's so much to do. And I'm guessing, you've analyzed the solutions that you're providing and able to provide, and what are the problems in the cannabis industry. Can you give a bit of insight into, what is exactly needed the most in terms of how blockchain can help the cannabis industry that the technology can provide?
Sure. Very easy for me. Education. Yeah. Education is the number one thing. And you don't want to bombard people when you're educating them. You've got to go step by step, and it takes time. Mm-hmm. Every person who gets into cryptocurrencies or tries to learn blockchain, you go, you absorb, you come back, think about it. Somebody mentions something, you come back, you learn more. There's a process. Whether you're talking about, if you want to be a trader or if you want to be somebody who's building out, there's a process you have to go through. And we have to understand that the mainstream especially needs to go through these processes, because they're people who may not care. They may not want. I mean, nobody knows. Nobody. I mean, how many people actually know what the electric motor inside a Tesla is? I mean, mm-hmm. We're all driving them, right? Yeah. So for me, the number one thing is education and being able to speak their language, being able to speak the people's language. What do they want to know? It's mm-hmm. one of the things that made us go to the Nexus blockchain is, password, username, PIN.
Totally.
I don't have to think about all these words now. I can do something I can relate to. And these things are important if you want some sort of real adoption. And that's just one example of what we're working towards. So
definitely, and I completely agree. And I was going to ask you about that with the technical barriers to entry. Some business owners, they don't necessarily, their strengths is cannabis and cannabis operations, not necessarily technology or integrating innovative technologies into help. And to have to understand, how does the blockchain work, syncing nodes and wallets and coins, it's a foreign language for a lot of people that aren't in the industry. And I'm not sure, how much you've experienced that when you're trying to, show PotCoin to the industry. But I'm guessing that's part of why you're making the move to lower these barriers to entry and to move to Nexus.
It's try not to go into it too much, but in 2019, our lead developer passed away. This was a turning point for our project. We had spent a lot of time talking with Jim, who was our dev. And the bottom line is that, if we really believe this is a community project, and it is actually more of a movement than a blockchain. Mm-hmm. And in being such, blockchain is one of our tools. And yes, it is a primary, it is a backbone. Could we sit here and think, we need to find a developer that we could trust, that we could trust with our chain that has the skills, that will do it on volunteer basis, that isn't mm-hmm. getting $150 an hour US from somebody else? There's a lot of things there. So we really had to evaluate and say, you know what? This is about the movement. This is about the community. Who fits with this? Mm-hmm. Which projects out there have this mentality? Which projects are out there putting their heart and soul into trying to make a difference and educate people and make things simple for people? Have great transaction speeds, free transactions. There's a lot of great things also on top of that. But really, that's what it came down to. And so, but I have to say, we've got a saying that means a lot to us. And in terms of adoption, we like to call it SaaS. You've got to have it simple. Mm-hmm. It's got to be accessible. It's got to be transparent, and it's got to be secure. Mm-hmm. If you don't have those things, you will not have adoption with your project, period.
Yeah.
Period. And that's it. I get behind the car. I've got, 4 things. I got a steering wheel, I've got a clutch, I've got brake, I've got gas. Okay, I've got a stick shift. Sorry, I got 5 things. But, really, it's simple. And this is what we need for adoption. On that point, I guess this is a good time to talk about it, since this is going to be coming out 420. We just announced that we're releasing a rewards platform. The rewards platform is something we're really excited about, because as you talk about stuff that's simple, we want people to have their first crypto experience to be very simple, so we can, I don't want to say hold their hand through it, but walk them through it and get them used to it in a very user-friendly manner. The PotCoin rewards program, we just did a partnership with Buddy Jane. They are a cannabis social media app. They've got about 10,000 users. Every single person on there is going to be getting some PotCoin rewards, and this is one of the things that we're working on. This is part of our social plan for adoption, to get people used to using the brand, understanding what the movement is, and help start educate them. I also personally feel, I can't speak for everybody, but I personally feel that PotCoin is people's, gateway, so to speak. This is going to be a lot of people's first experience with crypto. So we want to introduce them to the wholesome projects that we love, that we know that people are here for the right reasons. Redcoin, Digibyte, Nexus. I mean, Blackcoin's another one. There's a bunch of great projects out there that the community leaders are really here for the right reasons and pushing the boundaries. And this is it for us. So we're really excited. And I also have to tell you, a lot of the coins that I just mentioned have been awfully wonderful helping us as Jim passed away. We had a lot of support from a lot of great communities, and we would not be here without them. So that's
amazing. That's amazing, Josh. And that's great to hear that you're doing that partnership for, the PotCoin rewards. I'll definitely leave some links to that in the description box below for the viewers as well. And to hear about the community support, with all these blockchains, that it just seems like these blockchains that have been around, that were community projects, that were, from the dawn of Ethereum and even from before that are still here. They just sound like, everyone's a family. It was back in the days when there wasn't all this capital being injected, and it wasn't just all about business and IDOs and all of this stuff, and like everyone's here helping each other out. And to hear that these other blockchains are just, even ones that are working on totally different industries are like, hey, we're here to help. So that's amazing to hear, Josh.
And I have to tell you, Ashton, this is exactly what the cannabis industry went through and is going through. You had a tight-knit community that obviously before legalization, people had to trust each other. If you were a third-generation grower in Northern California, and yes, it was illegal, they were doing it. Obviously, things are different now. But if you were a third-generation grower in Northern California, you had to trust your neighbor. You had to trust him with your safety, with your security. For us in blockchain, it's the same thing. Having somebody else work on your chain, it's like you have to trust them with your security, with your safety. I mean, with your entire community, everybody, putting all their heart and soul into a project, and you have to trust them. There are so many parallels between cannabis and crypto that it's really not funny. And this is why when I got into this project, I stuck with this project, and I've just been working my butt off along with a bunch of wonderful people, because there's really a good use case and a great fit. It's a great puzzle piece. They really work well together. And the cannabis community, now that they're understanding cryptocurrencies a lot more, they're really starting to dig into what we're doing, and they understand that, the last 7 years, what we've been working on and working towards, I should say, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
That sounds great, Josh. And I wanted to, we touched at the beginning of the interview about the seed to sale, and I just wanted to touch back on that just to talk about, how it's helping the cannabis industry. And I believe that has to do with the supply chain with the cannabis industry. And supply chain is just one of the biggest solutions in blockchain. Some of the biggest projects in blockchain are for supply chain right now. And to have one that's focused specifically on cannabis, I'm sure there's a huge need to improve the supply chain. Can you talk about how big of an emphasis is put on that part for the project?
Sure, absolutely. This is one of the backbones of the project. We do have partners. And the reason why we have partners is because some of the things that we have discussed, it takes an army to make. To do it right.
Yeah.
And, supply chain is easy on one level, but if you really want to do something the way it's supposed to be done and really push it out properly, you're going to need an army. And so we've got some partners, and I would love to go more into that. We've got some partners who have been in this space and in the cannabis space, for, and a a long, long time. I don't even want to say how long. And some of these people have ideas and feelings and input that, some of us who are not growing cannot. I mean, I can sit here and do the logic and tell you, or, our guys, our coders can sit down and do the logic. But when you really get into the nitty gritty of really understanding what it is that needs to be done in the supply chain, or what the possibilities are, I should say, I think that we've had an incredible think tank. And I think that we've had a really good opportunity to come up with some ways that are out in left field to create a supply chain that's going to take some people by surprise. That's going to be out in left field, and we're taking it one step further, or two steps further, I should actually say.
Very cool, Josh.
Actually, as soon as our news comes out, I'd love to come back and continue that conversation with you as well. It's something that I'm personally, it's something I'm very excited about.
Definitely, and I would love to have you on for that. And we're nearing the end of the time that we have together here. But you mentioned you're moving to Nexus. You mentioned seed to sale updates. Is there anything else that you want to touch on in terms of upcoming milestones or roadmap for the project in the near future for the community?
Man, there's a lot coming up. I'd have to say that the first step would be this migration to Nexus, and then the rewards platform, which is already being tested in beta. So those are the first two, and the rewards platform is going to be very interesting. When you start tying in rewards to social media, you're able to get a lot of data and get it in ways that, obviously the way we're doing is protecting their privacy, but you're able to add a lot of bonuses for not only the consumer but also the businesses. So this is going to be our primary focus, and we're going to start building off of that and integrate all of this into seed to sale.
Very exciting, and I will leave all the community links in the description box below. More information about the rewards program and any other links that we can get to get people involved in the community and follow along with the project. And I really thank you for taking the time on this very special day to talk about PotCoin and to share some of these updates. And let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Awesome, Ashton. I love it. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Education in this space is number one. And I look forward to meeting up with you again. Thank you to your community as well.